Hey guys, Shane here, Aus Flight Simmer. Welcome to another test drive video. If you haven't seen one of these before, this is where we take a scenery, an aircraft, a utility or a plugin in different flight simulators. I'll take them for a spin around the block and give you my first impressions and I recommend is it worth value for money. In today's video, we are checking out the new release from Carenado that's available for FSX and Prepared. It is the S360. So with most test drive aircraft videos, let's start off by taking a look of the outside of the 360. If you're not familiar with the short 360, it is a commuter design aircraft that fits approximately around about 39 passengers. It's done by a British manufacturer, which was the Short Brothers. I guess that's where the name the short 360 comes from. Its first flight was on June the 1st, 1981, and then was inducted into November 1982. It was produced about 165, so not many, but I guess the probably biggest thing for me is that stands out for me is the look of the aircraft. It is a very unique look, and the wings, the width of the wings is to me makes the big standout unique sort of feature on this aircraft. As we all have come to expect, Carenado make aircraft on the exterior look great. And as you can see, there is no exception to the rule when it comes to the short 360. Again, it looks absolutely sensational. I'm also loving the type of variants of aircraft that are coming out from Carenado, such as the Saab, the Fokker, and all the short 360. It's a nice change. They have used 4K textures, yes that's right, 496 by 496, and included a bunch of static elements such as chocks. Even this time, which I think is the first time I've seen this before, which is the Towtruck, and it is pretty high quality, which is nice to see. All the usual suspects when it comes to animations, such as, you know, a rudder, flaps, ailerons, all that sort of stuff is included and working, and also works in replay mode too. The 360 comes with 8 HD liveries, which all the major players around the world looks like they've included, and 1 HD blank livery, and they all come with the light version as well. So if your PC is struggling a little bit, you can run the light version and you might see your frames and performance increase. But all in all, I can't fault the exterior of the aircraft. I think it's done with love and high detail. So within saying that, let's jump into the cockpit and check it out and show you guys a quick startup process for the 360. Welcome to the cockpit of the 360. I'm just going to cycle through some views so you can see what I'm using. You're able to pick these up in Chase Plane community. I have made them public available. The learning curve on the aircraft to learn how to do engine startup is maybe half an hour max. We are now just on the overhead. I'm going to run through the process to do a quick startup. It's pretty simple. It's basically batteries, fuel pump, lights, and then ignition, and then start and add the fuel. But I will say, and I've said this in the many Carenado videos, if any of the team is watching, I would love for you guys to update your sounds when it comes to the switches and buttons. A lot of them sound very clanky and pretty much sound the same that every other aircraft. But we're going to start the left engine now that I've said my piece. Carenado have said that they've used a real world 360 sounds, and I'd like to say I love the sounds of the 360. It sounds pretty good inside the aircraft and also in the exterior. So we're going to light up engine, or the right engine now. So both engines are started. We'll just quickly run through the remainder of the process, just if anybody doesn't want to read the manual. I will have to say though, there is a lot of buttons to press and switches that do do work and do operate that are modeled into the 360. Yes, it's not a study level aircraft, but there is enough there to keep someone like myself that is a very systems orientated flight simmer to keep me happy when it comes to this aircraft. So it is a lot of fun, and it's not just a simple startup. There's a little bit to play around with. And Carenado do mention this on their website, that they said it is included as a sequence startup procedure. So I guess that's an added plus than some of the other aircraft that have released previous. So that concludes the startup. I've configured the aircraft ready for taxi, so we're just pulling out of our parking spot here. As you can see, I'm a little bit ginger on the throttles. The video footage you're watching was the first time that I actually taxied the aircraft. Took a little bit to get used to the throttles. Has quite a long spool up, but once you get going, it can get away from you quite easy. But that's the same as many other turboprops for this sort of size of aircraft. But as for turning and wise and things like that, it's pretty friendly. So once you get the hang of it, it's a breeze to taxi, and it's a treat to taxi as well. So today's flight, we are in Miami International and flying to Nassau. So as you can see, we've got some traffic deciding to just pull off there and get in the road, and also a fuel truck that won't move. So we're just going to move around the fuel truck as we make our way over to runway 12. I really love the engine sounds in the aircraft. It's quite good, and I was quite surprised how good they would be for the 360. So we skipped around the fuel truck, just crossing the runway. I'm going to jump to some outside views of the aircraft through taxiing, so you can hear the exterior engine sounds as well. So we'll hold short here, just at runway 12. We'll just wait for some traffic and get the aircraft configured, and then we'll go for takeoff. So we are all clear for takeoff. We're just lining up on the runway now. There's a bunch of material that come included in the aircraft, such as your procedures, performance tables, reference, and all that sort of stuff. Traditional for Carenado products, but gives you all the information that you need to what configuration you need for takeoff, and also landing, cruise, and whatnot. I'm going to be quiet now, so you guys can enjoy the sounds of the takeoff, and I'll come back to you just after we have wheels up. So that was pretty good. The aircraft didn't really dart around too much on the runway. It's pretty much straightforward. You do need to get a bit of a speed to pull it back to takeoff, but all in all, it was a smooth rotation. So pretty nice aircraft to take off, a lot of fun. But we're going to continue along our way and get some heights as we fly out of the city of Miami on our way to Nassau or the Bahamas. So we'll come back to you shortly, and we'll take a look at some outside views as we depart Miami. Welcome back to the cockpit. We are now at our cruising altitude of 18,000 feet. I think that's pretty much just on the ceiling for this aircraft. As you can see, we are checking out the cockpit. They've done a fantastic job with the wear and tear. I really enjoy the look of the cockpit and traditional normal detail that Carenado put in. So showing all your scratches and whatnot, all the reflections of the gauges. The GTN 750 with all Carenado products is in this one. I'm deciding to use it today. Normally I use a GPS of the default for aircraft, but I decided to change it around for this time. Some added extras by Carenado is the fan that's in front of us. It does work and has its own sounds. The windows open as per all other Carenado aircraft. This one's different, it's such a larger window. Added extras such as the wires hanging down from the overhead that curl up around near the compass. That's nice, and it just adds to the immersion factor, such as the windscreen wipers and whatnot working. So I can't really fault the cockpit. I like it. There's enough stuff that is modelled in here which is different than some of the other Carenado aircraft, but all in all I always want more. Some systems in play would be nice, and the sounds of some of the buttons updated to something different. We are going to make our way out to the cabin of the aircraft. We're just going to take a quick look at it. So really cool thing, there's doors on each side, and we're going to open them up, and you can instantly see that the cabin has been modelled. Done in pretty good detail. As you can see, the lights or the bins won't open, but that's okay, it's modelled anyway. You can really see the 80s era coming out in the interior of this aircraft, but I reckon if you're sitting down in one of the seats here, you'd have a pretty good view of the engine and the wheels. So we'll take a look at, say, the left hand side here. I'm going to check to see, no, and the tables won't go down either, but all in all it's modelled. So I pretty much only spend the time in these videos actually going into the cabin, but I always like to know that they are modelled, and yes, this one is. So we've been saying that we're going to make our way up to the cockpit, and we'll go back to a bit of a montage and come back to you on final. Welcome back. We are all lined up and we're on our approach into Nassau. As you can see some from the footage before, I was doing some hand flying, we're doing some turns just to test her out, and one thing I can say, you can feel the weight of the aircraft because it's not like a traditional Carenado GA aircraft that you can flip around. You do feel the weight, but it's very responsive within saying that at the same time, so it's a pleasure and a bit of a treat to fly around with. So I'm all lined up. We're flying this manually, and it's quite easy to trim the aircraft up and get your flaps to the appropriate spot for landing. So it's been a bit of fun. So I'm going to leave it to you guys now. I'll come back, so please enjoy the landing, and once we land we'll take a look at a replay and I'll give you my final thoughts. that was a fun landing. A little bit long, floated a little bit, but that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. Why don't we take a look at the replay? We are making our way back to the airport parking. I did have one issue after landing, which I had no steering. I'm not too sure if that was prepared or the aircraft. I could actually see the yoke moving around in the plane and the rudders moving around, but I had no steering. So it wasn't until I completed a couple of replays it just decided to work again. So quite interesting. Other than that, it's been a very enjoyable flight. So I picked this up for about 54 Australian dollars. It actually goes for $39.95 US, which is around the mark of all the Carenado products that come out that you purchase off the Carenado website. All in all, the exterior looks absolutely excellent on this aircraft with 8 liveries and 4K textures. There seems to be enough systems modelled and included in this aircraft to make me happy. So even it's still light on, it's not a study level sim, but it functions quite well, and it was a real treat to fly. I really enjoyed this. I would actually put this aircraft right behind the Saab and in front of the Fokker when it comes to the bigger aircraft that have been released from Carenado, say in the last 12 months. So pretty interesting stuff, and yeah, I would actually recommend you go and pick this one out. The only thing I can fault really, again, which I do mention in a lot of these videos, is the sound of the buttons, but other than that, I think it's a lot of fun to fly, and I think this is an aircraft I'm going to fly more than once, so looking forward for more adventures. So thank you very much for watching the video. Hopefully I've been able to say this is a good investment for you or save some money in your hip pocket. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button for all weekly content, and if you're one of the usuals to hang around at the Aus Flight Simmer channel, if you like the video, hit a thumbs up. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, have an awesome day.